And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here as we get ready for knockout qualifying for our 13th race of the season, our final stop before we end up getting to All-Star Race Weekend, which will then set us up for our 13 race, our chase towards the chase for the championship. And then, of course, the chase cutoff will begin. We'll have our 16 drivers to battle in 10 races for the championship. But today we are here at Richmond International Raceway, and we're going to see who's going to be making it into the main event. There goes Shaun Gallighan. Rookie Zachary Stultz is already headed out and on track. These drivers only allotted 5 minutes in each session, so they should really get out there early and make the most of it. Zachary Stultz, been a while since we've seen him in a points-paying event. I believe he's only made one official start this season. And I believe he's on the clock. He may be coming around to go on the clock this time. Nope, apparently he was on the clock. 20.188. The lap time for the Dustless Blasters Toyota Camry. Just ahead of him there is Keith Batson, running a new look Ring of Honor. See, and Levi McIntire almost makes some contact there off of turn number 4. Just want to point out, too, I was notified, and I am entirely in the wrong. The 73, 72, and 35, whoa, some bumping there, are not out of KAB Motorsports, which I've been calling them lately. They are actually KAB Racing Enterprises, so I do apologize for that error on my part. I will try and remember that in the futures. They are beating and banging here between Levi McIntire, James Qualls, and Keith Batson. It's a wonder we haven't had an on-track incident yet. Right now, the fastest car on track is just in front of them. That's that 86 car. Right now has been very beneficial of not having to really deal with anybody. Oh, trouble up ahead. Somebody spun. Oh! That's O'Neal Baldwin, Trent Dunham, Brandon Gonzales, Mongold gets involved, Cody Llamas, James Qualls, and they're piling into each other. Dillon Young's in it. Zachary Fitzwater involved. I think Seth Cole might have gotten a piece of it. Yep, he just did right there, as that's Kyle Mathews. Benjamin Miles is flipping into pit road after contact from Garrett Sidner. Wow. Look at that. They're still piling up. Carson Scott's in it. Daniel Voiles. That's Aaron Henderson. Batson, McIntire, Baskinger. Stephanie Gardner was in it. Seth Cole's coming to pit road. Mongold is smoking. Shelton is smoking. Elijah Gordon was involved. There's Kyle Mathews, who was around Benjamin Miles when he flipped. Now keep in mind, these drivers, a lot of them are going to more likely have to go to backup cars, but they do not get penalized of having to start at the rear of the field or anything like that because of the fact that this is only the first heat. It's rounds 2 and 3. If you wreck, you have to go to a backup car. Right there is the fastest car on track who would transfer to the next round. That's Shaun Gallighan. Don't know if he's on pit road of his own accord or if he got involved in that wreck. Then it would be Zachary Stultz. Kat Tellier, 3rd place on the charts, is still out there. 19.907. Then you got Joshua Circulii, Jon Gilbert, now 5th. Trent Dunham, and Alvarise, Fitzwater, Mathews, Gonzales, Dillon Young, and James Qualls. That would be the transfer spot, and Qualls just got knocked out. Now it's Dillon Young in the final transfer spot, as it was Ryan Madden and Kyle Mathews, who both jumped up into the top 12. Kat Tellier running behind Leon Alvarez. We'll see if that draft allows her to beat her fastest lap, and it does. Top of the leaderboard. 19.755. Kat Tellier is now the new fastest car on track, as Dillon Young, Brandon Gonzales just got eliminated out of the top 12. Aaron Henderson just jumped up in. 15 seconds to go. We're going to be keeping our eyes there on that 12th position, right now being held by Zachary Fitzwater. And Fitzwater's out. Dunham just jumped in, and now Dunham's on the bubble spot as Henderson is out. McCrury just jumped up to 11th. Camera's going to stay focused on the fastest car on track. Undoubtedly will move into the next round. That's Kat Tellier. out of KAB Racing Enterprises. Trent Dunham just barely hanging on. He's going to now put Kyle Mathews in the bubble spot. Now Mathews out as Jon Gilbert jumps up to 11th. So now Dunham's in the bubble spot. And that may have been it. That may have just ended. Lap times being counted. Dunham may have gotten the final transfer spot. Looks like he might be joined by Jon Gilbert, Aaron Henderson, Leon Alvarise, Ryan Madden, Anthony McCrury, Carson Scott, Zachary Stultz, Joshua Circulii, Shaun Gallighan, Brandon Gonzales, and Cat Tellier. Zeros on the clock. Session is complete, and those are the 12 drivers that will transfer. Kyle Mathews very close, but not going to be transferring in to the next round. Neither will Zachary Fitzwater or Joseph Srigley. They were all about 1/10 slower than 12th fastest Trent Dunham. And as I look at this, looks like we're going to have about four non-chartered cars. Moving into the next round from this, our first heat. Tellier the fastest, Zachary Stultz 5th, Aaron Henderson 10th, and Jon Gilbert trying to make his first start since Martinsville in the 11th position. So Trent Dunham gets the final transfer spot. Drivers that at this point officially will not start this race would be as follows: Matthew Tallio, Keith Batson, Stephanie Gardner, O'Neill Balvin, Austin Mongold, Elijah Gordon, Seth Cole, and that would be it. As you look on down through the remainder of the results here from our first heat race. So, from Cat Tellier on down through Trent Dunham, they'll move on to round number 2. Those that got involved in the wreck, like Trent Dunham, like Aaron Henderson, they will not have to go to backup car, or they will not have to go to the rear of the field up until this point. All depends on what happens in the second round. So let's get ready now for our second heat of the first round. See what other 12 drivers will move in. If we could get at least just 3, not 4, but 3 non-chartered cars moving to the next round, all those drivers that move in on Heat 1 and Heat 2, they'll make the race. But we'll have to see what happens. Don't go away. Knockout qualifying for Richmond continues after this. So now we'll get ready for our second round of qualifying. Not second round, but second heat of the first round of qualifying. Our first heat, we didn't get away without incident. A lot of drivers sustained damage. A number of drivers went to backup cars. There were about 4 drivers in backup cars that did make it into the next round. Trent Dunham and Carson Scott, Aaron Henderson. So we'll have to see if these drivers can keep their cars clean, as there's only 31 of them on track as opposed to 32 before. I don't think that one car is going to make really a difference. But anyway, Jon Art is the first one off pit road in the 24 Exalta Chevrolet out of AS Racing. And he is now on the clock. I think the first lap time laid down in Heat 1 was something like a 20.288, something like that, if memory serves me correctly. Let's see what Jon Art can lay down here for his first lap time. And it'll be a 20.512. A pretty stellar first lap there for Jon Art. Cole Baker and Johnny Gardner were the next ones off pit road, and I guess, well, not sure where they are. They weren't too far behind. Nathan Hudson just now merging on track. Johnny Gardner now going to complete his first official time lap, and it'll be a 20.414. Right now, Jon Art still the fastest on track. 20.318, I was going to say, was the fastest, and all of a sudden Dougie Shears up in the 20.2s with a 20.204. 20.2 lap time there for Jon Art as well, but not quite as fast. Johnny Gardner now up to second, Nathan Hudson up to third, and Art now sits in fourth. And now William Brock to the top of the leaderboard, 20.188. We did see a number of drivers hit the 19s, the low 19s, in the first heat. So expect to see that here. The first one to do it will be Nathan Hudson, 19.893. The attack on Titan Chevrolet. Noah Cars not knowing how to merge up into the catch fence, collecting Jon Art and Zach Rogers. That was not a good job of merging by the Seattle Seahawks Chevrolet out of Redline Racing. And I don't think Jon Art's going to be too thrilled with that. Fortunately, he's going to return to pit before any more incidents occur. Someone went through the grass. Not sure who it was. There's some dust that was kicked up there on the front straightaway. There's last week's winner. from, oh, more trouble. That's William Brock. And I think it was Pichu London he got involved with. Brock was second fastest so far. But Richardson picking up the win last week at Dover. Right now he's 21st fastest on the scoring charts, right behind two-time winner Charles Sandfer. Where's that 7 car at? Nathan Hudson. Right now he is the fastest on track. There he is. Zack Flickinger's got some left side damage, bringing his U.S. Army Chevrolet to the pit road. 19.893, the fastest lap played down so far in this session by Nathan Hudson. Hudson took part in last week's event at Dover, trying to make back-to-back races. Marie Minobi just jumped up to third. Joe Rockingham fourth. Sandfer's in fifth. And it's Rocco Twyman, Richardson, and top of the leaderboard, J.T. Bryant, who just worked his way around Nathan Hudson. 19.725. About 45 seconds left. Let's see who's in the bubble spot. That's Dougie Shears. Just ahead, James McLeod. Just behind is Johnny Gardner. Actually, no. Shears and Gardner are tied right now. And if they're both tied, that means they're both moving into the next round. 20.104. If anybody beats that, then they're both out. John Art about 5 1,000ths off that pace. See if anybody in the next 15 seconds can lay down a lap time that can move him into the top 12. And now James Richardson dropped to 11th. Rocco Twyman now jumped to 11th. Richardson was like 21st before, so he moved up into the top 10. And there they go. Shears and Gardner both eliminated, as it was John Cittadino who just jumped up to 11th place with a 20.070. 10 seconds remaining. Rocco Twyman now sits in the bubble spot. And he's out, as I believe it was Sandfer jumped up, and now Sandfer's out, holding Gluba up to 12th. And now I think it's over. I think the timing are no longer going to be counted, but maybe they are. Somebody just jumped up to the lead. That was Hudson. Just took the top spot away from JT Bryant again, so maybe we should still keep on the 12th position on the track. Who was that? Oh, that was John Arndt. John Arndt's got damage. He got wrecked there in turn 4, it looks like. And now the session is complete. I think Holden Gluba got the final transfer spot.
Drivers,
Hudson became fastest on track in the closing stages. Then it was JT Bryant, then James McLeod, Emmanuel Hartnett, Joe Rockingham, Richardson, Brock, Davey Johnson, another driver who has only made one start this season. He's 8th. 9th, Grayson Acevedo, 10th, Chris Dodd, Marie Minobi, and Holden Gluba indeed does get the final transfer spot into the next round of qualifying. Remember I said we needed only 3 drivers to transfer into the next round of qualifying for us to have 7 confirmed drivers racing in the main event that were go homers. Well, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 transfer in from this round. So that means that along with the 4 drivers that transferred in the first heat, in the second round, 3 drivers will be going home regardless of moving into the second round of qualifying. Just take a look on down through the rest of the results here from this session. Drivers that will officially not be starting this race will include Rocco Twyman, Dougie Shears, Johnny Gardner. First time in a long time Johnny Gardner's failed to make the race. Also Kyle Keith. That's a tough break there for Kyle because, they haven't worked out a charter yet for that car. And he has a win back at Pocono. Jason Haywood, Marty Johnson, Noah Kars, Zach Rogers, Pichu London, and John Andrews. They will not make the race as well. So unless something can be worked out before we go green here at Richmond for Kyle Keith to get a charter, he's not making it in on speed. So we'll see what takes place here in the next few hours on whether they can get Kyle Keith a charter or not. The one thing that I would maybe wonder about is, can they possibly be able to swap a charter over from the one car of Trent Dunham, who might be able to make it in on speed since he moved into the next round of qualifying. Maybe the same for Shaun Gallighan. We'll find out in mere moments. Don't go away. Round number 2 of qualifying is coming up next. Alright, so we'll get ready here for the second round of qualifying. Now, before these drivers headed out on track here, between heats 1 and 2, Trent Dunham actually did meet with NNSCRA officials, the owner of Sega Motorsports, and there has been something worked out, much around the similar lines of what we saw take place at Talladega. You remember back when Joshua Circulii did not have a charter, William Brock made the Talladega race on time, gave his charter for that race to Circulii, so Circulii could make the race. That was before they were able to purchase a full-time charter for the 47 team. However, Sega Motorsports is going to be doing the exact same thing, and 3 of their chartered cars have moved here into the second round of qualifying. So Trent Dunham, Shaun Gallighan, Ryan Madden, if one of them can make this race on time, then their charter would go over to Kyle O'Keefe to make this Richmond race. Which also makes it a little bit more difficult now on the go-or-go-home drivers, because now out of the 10 that moved here into the second round, it wouldn't be 3 of them going home, it would be 4 of them going home, and that is if one of the Sega Motorsports cars can make it to the final round of qualifying and basically be within the top 7 of the non-chartered cars. There's one of them right there, Ryan Madden in the 8. Drifting up quite a bit there in turns 3 and 4 is Aaron Henderson, 20.302. And he did not best his lap. Davey Johnson, though, 20.160. Davey Johnson right there in the 46, a couple of cars behind Aaron Henderson. Talked about William Brock Motorsports just moments ago. This is the third entry out of that team. The only non-chartered car out of that team now. Davey's only made 1 start this year. I'm trying to remember where that start came. It was somewhere early on in the season, as I recall. I don't think it was Atlanta. It might have been either maybe Las Vegas, possibly Texas. Teammate Joshua Circulii just coming out on track. Right now, Trent Dunham is up in 5th. So at least one of the Sega Motorsports cars is up inside the top 12. As Davey Johnson, 19.943, the lap time these drivers have to beat. The car just ahead of him, Jon Gilbert, whose only start this season came in his debut the week that team was put together, and that was at Martinsville right now. He's the only other car to hit the 19-second lap time, 19.958. And Henderson now just hit the 19s. He's up to 2nd, 19.937. Trent Dunham jumped up to 7th. 8th place Ryan Madden, so Sega Motorsports has got at least 2 entries up there in the top 12, and this could get hairy off a corner. Oh man, Joe Rockingham, Circulii, Gilbert, Davey Johnson, all in a hornet's nest, and somehow they all tiptoed their way through without incident. I don't know how. Nathan Hudson getting a good view of that. We didn't see a lot of speed out of James Richardson in the 11 car earlier, but boy, they certainly turned up the heat here. He started on the pole a couple of weeks ago. And right now, looking like he's maybe going to move into the next round of qualifying, as right now, also, I noticed that Trent Dunham has dropped to 12th. 12, 13, 14. That's where the Sega Motorsports cars are right now. They've got to get at least one of them up into the next round of qualifying so they could try qualifying in on speed for a charter. Now they just dropped out to 14th, 15th, and 16th. And Richardson just dropped to 6th. Who's moved up? Leon Alvarise and Anthony McCrury. Alvarise, former winner this season. He is currently the fastest on track. There's the car side by side with the second fastest, Anthony McCrury. 19.7s for those two. 7.41 for Alvarise, 7.61 for McCrury, as McCrury will move on by. Then it's Henderson and Davey Johnson also in the 19.7s, 19.8s for Gilbert, Circulii, Richardson, Hartnett, Carson Scott, and Tellier, and Anthony McCrury top of the leaderboard now. This is his home track, so but he'd love to start on the pole and be able to win this race too. The defending champion coming home here at Richmond. Circulii up to 4th there. Had his best finish since picking up a charter last week finished, I think it was either third or fourth at Dover. And Anthony McCrury trying to get around James McLeod. 2, 1. Session should be over as far as lap times counting, and none of the Sega Motorsports cars moved into the next round. Ouch. Gallighan was 14th, Dunham was 18th, and Madden just a little better in 17th. So Kyle Keith, don't know now what they're going to do. That was like plan A. I don't know if they have a plan B. I don't know if there's a team they can purchase a charter from or not. As the way things stand, Kyle Keith would not race in this event as things stand right now because of the fact that Gallighan, Madden, nor Dunham would be able to fall back on a lap time. The only thing that I could possibly see happening is you could have Henderson, Davey Johnson, Jon Gilbert, Tellier, Zachary Stultz. They'll be the non-charter cars moving to the next round. Now, here's the only thing that I could see as a possibility, but it's a very slim possibility. If you go down through the list, number 1 would be Henderson, number 2 would be Johnson, number 3 Gilbert, number 4 Tellier, number 5 Stultz, number 6 Rockingham, and Gallighan. Right now, if they took the charter and put it on the 42, he would be the final non-chartered car to move into the main event, since he would be the 7th fastest. The cars that would then fail to make the race would be Minobe, McLeod, Gluba, and Hudson. So I don't know if that's what they're going to do. Take the charter off the 48. He would make it in on speed. He would make it in on time as a non-chartered car. He was just barely high enough to be able to do that. If he had been behind Minobe, there'd have been no chance for him to be able to do that. So that might be the only way Kyle Keith can make this race. So, yet again, for Marie Minobe, it comes down to whether a car is going to have a charter or not. That took place back at Talladega, I believe it was, when Minobe was so close to making the event, but then Circulii got himself a charter. Minobe, again, if you don't see Minobe's name down in the description in the starting lineup, you'll know that the 42 was able to get a charter from the 48. The 48 will start on time. So that's basically the way that it might work out. Anthony McCrury, though, will move on to the next round. Fastest here in round 2, Leon Alvarise, Aaron Anderson, Joshua Circulii, Emmanuel Hartnett, Davey Johnson, Jon Gilbert, James Richardson, Carson Scott, Tellier, Chris Dodd, and Zachary Stultz will join him. And Joe Rockingham will not move on to the next round of qualifying, but he will take part in the main event. So great run there for him. All right, so let's get ready now for our final round of qualifying. It looks like to me only one previous pole sitter is going to be in the hunt for his second pole of the season. That's James Richardson. Everybody else looking for their first pole of the season, looks like. So let's get ready now for the third round of qualifying here from Richmond. So as we get ready here for our third and final round of qualifying to find out who's going to be starting on the pole, who's going to be starting the outside of the front row, there are a lot of smiles down on pit road. A number of drivers will be making their second starts of the season, including rookie Jon Gilbert, rookie Zachary Stultz, and there was another one, Davey Johnson in the 46. All will be making career starts number 2 here in the Hersheys Cup Series. So, great day for those drivers. And Emmanuel Hartnett will be the first one off of pit road. So these drivers will have 5 minutes with which to work. There'll only be 12 cars on track, which means the likelihood of being able to get a draft lap like we've seen in rounds 1 and 2 is going to be slim to none unless you come off pit road with a fellow driver. You don't really have much opportunity for teammates to be able to work together, with the possible exception of the drivers out of William Brock Motorsports, Joshua Circulii and Davey Johnson, both moving into the next round. And 20.444, the first official lap time laid down by Emmanuel Hartnett. We'll see if he beats it this time around. Doesn't look like he'll have any traffic merging off pit road to have to deal with. We'll see what he can lay down for his second lap time. And it will be 20.273, but that's not even enough to get the fastest lap time. Right now it's Jon Gilbert and Tellier, a couple of rookies, who are the two fastest. Gilbert just beat his own lap time. 20.126. Remember, he made his only start at Martinsville. And Richmond is kind of considered a bit of a short track. Not really, but somewhat. So not surprising to see him laying down some fast lap times here. He's also got the draft off of Davey Johnson, which I think has helped his lap times a little bit here early in this session. And Tellier just bested it, though, with a 20.084. Gilbert will move his way by Davey Johnson. But yes, it does. I was going to say it doesn't improve his lap time, but it does. 19.841 for Jon Gilbert. I mean, it was a Cinderella story of itself already. Wow, Circulii nearly took Gilbert out. But it was a Cinderella story in and of itself back at Martinsville. That team being put together just the week before, and they made the main event race at Martinsville. How would it be in only his second start of the season for him to start on the pole? Tellier is breathing down his neck, though. She's only 3/100ths off, and now Tellier finds herself in a battle with James Richardson. I don't know if that's going to help her to improve her lap time, this time by 19.9, a full 10th off her fastest lap. Richardson now also at 19.940, so he's up to third fastest on the charts. Waiting to see if we'll see any sudden burst out of Lee and Alvarise. Anthony McCrury, they were fast in round 2. And Tellier about the same lap time as last time, this time 19.968. Unless something drastic happens, Jon Gilbert, the rookie, looks like he may end up in his second start of the season starting on the pole position. And Tellier is going to come to pit road, try and get something set up for the last run here to try and get that pole position away from Jon Gilbert. Gilbert, his pace has fallen off by about 2/10 now each lap. Nowhere close to that 19.841 he laid down a few laps ago. Davey Johnson and Joshua Circulii, a couple of teammates riding right behind him. You'd think that the draft would help the two of them, but so far, fastest that Davey Johnson been able to get is a 20.011. Circulii, 20.077, and now he just jumped up to fifth fastest, 19.940. But still, not good enough to beat Jon Gilbert. 20 seconds left. They'll have, I think, like 25 seconds still available for being able to try and still do something, as Circulii to the top of the board. 19.815, and he can thank his rookie teammate Davey Johnson for that lap time. He now has swiped the pole position away. That time, 19.881, not good enough to best his own lap time. 7 seconds to go, and Circulii in the closing stages has taken the pole position here at Richmond. The driver who won at Martinsville. And the session will now come to a close. 20 seconds for cool down, and you're looking at your pole sitter for this week's race at Richmond. Joshua Circulii out of William Brock Motorsports. I think they finally have found the speed they need in that 47 car. Come into this race 37th in the point standings. They need to get to the top 30 for his win at Martinsville to count towards a spot in the chase for the championship. This is a great step in the right direction. His first pole of the season. Jon Gilbert will start in second. Tellier third. Lee and Alvarise, he got that late little burst of speed there at the end too. He'll get fourth. Henderson will start fifth. Richardson sixth. Davey Johnson seventh. Chris Dodd in eighth. Ninth, Anthony McCrury. 10th will be Emmanuel Hartnett. And then Zachary Stultz and Carson Scott will be 11th and 12th. For Gilbert, Johnson, and Stultz, they'll be making their second starts of the season. So Joshua Circulii captures the pole. A great run for him here in the closing stages with a little bit of help there from Davey Johnson. Remember I mentioned there wasn't much of an opportunity for teammates to work together except for the 47 and the 46. What ended up happening? Boy, I should get a commentator's license or something here. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in for Knockout Qualifying. Check down in the description to see the official starting lineup for this Richmond race. which will be the next thing coming out here for the Hersheys Cup Series. You've been watching a production of the NNSCRA, offline racing at its best. We'll see you guys next time for a points-paying race at Richmond.